His name is Ashutosh Sinha. He lives in Dubai and is passionate about transforming careers. And that's something common that we share, Ashutosh and I share that. He has
Absolutely.
recently authored a globally best-selling book called Breakthrough, the framework for an inspired career, which addresses sensitive topics of what makes career truly successful. He has worked as an HR leader for some of the best organizations in the US, India, Southeast Asia, and Middle East. Honestly, Ashutosh is a global HR leader, I must say. And leadership transformation and organizational change have been areas that he has focused on for a long time. He has actually interacted with over 2,000 CXOs and senior executives and is widely known as the career Sherpa. Let's find out more about what it is all about and his interest areas. So, welcome, Ashutosh, to this session today.
Thank you, Karuna. Thank you for having me here. And I really admire the work you're doing in the mainstream. It's amazing. So I'm very happy to be on your show and this
Thank
conversation.
you. Thank you so much for coming, actually. And I know you have a very busy schedule, but I'm so glad that you were able to find time to come and address and really add value. So thankful for that.
My
So
pleasure.
tell us more about yourself, Ashutosh. Let us start with that. Tell us about what has your career journey been like?
Like everyone else's. So every career journey, I believe, sometimes is planned and mostly unplanned. And my career journey has been same. I have never architected it beyond a point of time. Got out of college, went for my, used to work with a steel plant as a hard hat engineer, went on to become an MBA in HR and develop a career in HR. But I just took it one step at a time, and I've thoroughly enjoyed every moment of it. Uh, the key highlight I would love to say is that I sincerely discovered the fact in myself that the moment I take most pride and most fulfillment when I look back and reflect towards the evening and the end of the day is every single day that I have grown people around me or I've helped people around me. And that seems to be my inner passion. And my teams around the world can, and my bosses can definitely vouch for that. So it's not just a statement. And my career has, you know, been on a discovery path. Today, also, I'm discovering more of myself. But one thing which I believe in today is who you are and your career need to go hand in hand. It cannot be two different things. It cannot be like it's a job, like a separate journey, and your life is a separate journey. They need to have a confluence. And that's what I firmly believe in, and that's what I've done for myself.
Wow, that's an interesting point, and I would like to know more about that. When you say that who you are, and it should reflect in what you're doing, tell us more about that. What have your been of these experience working in the corporate sector?
So, like I said, I started reflecting some point of time, middle of my career. And 25 years seems long, but there are
Hmm.
people who have been in their journeys for 30 years now, 35 years. But somewhere,
Wow.
in the middle of my career, I kind of realized and recognized the fact that my personal priorities and my professional priorities seem to be competing with each other. So at one end was my personal ambition and my priorities about my family, my parents, mortgages, my kids growing up, they're nice teenagers today, and at the same time, my personal and professional ambitions to do well in my career and earn better, get better at what I do, and obviously get promoted and all those things which every goes with every job. And
Hmm.
I'm being very candid and honest here, and that's who I am. Is that in the middle of my career, I realized that while I may have got the riches of the world, I may have got the house or the cars or a beautiful set of environment around me, but the fulfillment was missing beyond a point of time. And I said, something is not clicking well. I am still not completely fulfilled and happy with everything going well.
Hmm.
So what is going
Hmm.
well and what is not going well? And I picked up the phone with, I always believe in life, you need to have coaches and mentors around you. That's, you can't be someone on your own. I mean, whether you refer to, and I'm not saying I'm a believer in only that philosophy, but different people have set different points of time. Whether we go back to our Vedic philosophy, whether we go back to Napoleon Hill or
Yeah.
Sun Tzu, you need to be surrounded with a mastermind set of network people around you and coaches and mentors who you can bounce off thoughts and ideas. And that's when I called up my mentors, who were definitely more senior and seasoned and better than me any day. And I said, have you also faced this point of time in your career that you started off great, but somewhere in the middle you started feeling lost on your career? Or have you always been this happy and wonderful and arrived in your life? And to my pleasant surprise, I was hoping they would give me this answer. They said, we actually have been through the same. There have been numerous moments in our career and stops, pit stops, where we have felt lost and we have tried to rediscover what we're trying to do. And Karuna, I've been also someone who has intensely been on the recruiting side of things in my other organizations in the past. And I've had the chance to hire about 40 to 50,000 people probably in my 25 years, a little more, little less. I must have
Wow.
hired 3,000 business heads, and at least 300 of those business heads or CEOs, CXOs are still decent friends, I would say. We still have no love lost. And I started reaching out to them in the middle of my career and said, allow me to interview you. This was, I'm talking about 2013, 14, that time. And about 7 years back. And when I started talking to them, I discovered that some very successful CEOs who we know in the world and business heads or on successful entrepreneurs or homemakers who had made a great comeback to lovely careers, they were all saying one common thing. They had discovered and connected their sense of purpose to who they were and what they could truly do. And that resonated with me, and that's where I got on to develop a framework, and which I call a QABA framework. So that long answer to your question, but the journey has been interesting, and I've had my own pit stops, and that's where I've discovered that careers are made with some planning, but definitely with a huge sense of purpose. And I can talk more about that later if you want.
Wow. I really like this thought that when you're saying that uh, careers are made with sense of planning, but also with the sense of purpose. Both of the things are so important, and I would love to know more about that in the coming conversations. Um, there are some thoughts that are occurring to me, and I'm just wondering, we spend a lot of time working. We as professionals, entrepreneurs, or anybody who's interested in creating, working. We spend huge number of hours of our 24 hours of the day working. However, if we do not feel fulfilled in what we are doing, or we're not happy, if I have to say that, many a times there is a disconnect between the personal lives that we are experiencing and the feeling of contribution to the society. All of those things are, we feel amiss somewhere. So what is your take on that? What is your feeling? And when you interviewed so many people, so many CXOs and senior executives, how what do they have to say about it?
There's something which I preach and profess and preach not in the sense of guru. I'm no guru. I'm just another guy who has been with some decent experience around. But at least the note or pages from my book say something which I call as economics of career. The economics of
Wow.
career is about, you know, where are you at this point of time? If we do a simple maths, right? And again, I'm not the first one talking about this, but I have a different way to look at it. If you do a maths, and let's say someone is 35 years old today or 36 years old today, and you say that I have spent, and you start off your career journey at 22, let's say, as an example, or 23. So you 35 minus 22 or 23, do a simple maths, you spent already about 10 to 12 years of your life working. And when you multiply that by 365 days, take off 125 days of weekends under that, take off 10% of your holidays and personal time out of that. What comes is truly around that you worked almost, about, let's say, 30,000 hours or something. And then when you calculate it upwards, that okay, when do I want to fire myself? Fire myself, and fire is again not my term, but fire is financial independence, retire early. And when you want to fire yourself, you say that okay, let's say it's 50. So you say 50 minus 35 is 15 years, and you again do the same maths, 15 into 240 days in the year into 9 hours or 8 hours, and take off 35% because now beyond 35 you'd have family, kids, marriages, personal priorities, and your goals and ambitions, and COVID and things like this, and where you will have to probably get disengaged with your career sometimes, and that maths is brutal. It shows the time left, even at the age of 35, hours left would be probably 29 to 30,000 hours, which is lesser than the 30 to 35,000 hours which you already spent at an early young age. So the
Hmm.
moot point here is that's the equation. Now, if you know that this is the time left in my career, 30,000, 35,000 hours, how am I dividing that up? And if you don't have a plan around it, then you're not going to succeed. Then comes the second point, which every CEO I spoke to who has been successful or has failed, every entrepreneur or successful businessman, and I am also quoting here some great minds I have sat in the boardroom with who are very, I don't want to take names, but they're very successful people in the world today, across the world, in the US or in India, greatest businessmen in the world. And they said the same thing when I asked them, in a moment of truth, that what has clicked for you and what has been different. And the point is very, very simple. In those hours which are left, let's say there are 30,000 hours left in your career, and do that maths for yourself. In those 30,000 hours from 35 years to 50 years of age, do you have a plan? And if you have the plan, how engaged are you with the plan? And if you're not engaged with the plan, then we have a big problem there. If you engage with the plan, are you connected with a sense of gravity and purpose with the plan? And that can only happen if you enjoy what you do. You enjoy what you do when you are truly doing something which is somewhere connecting with you deep inside your heart or core. Otherwise, you'll never enjoy what you do. And it's very interesting, the cycle, because when you start enjoying what you do, you become more successful. When you become more successful, you get reinforcements and juices in positive psychology to do even better. And that keeps going up and enhances your personal cycle and performance on your ability to perform better and earn better and ultimately be hugely successful in the world. So it's a very simple formula, but it starts right there in the economics of career.
Amazing. And you know what? I never thought of it like that. It is so interesting that how we can quantify the fact that there are so many number of hours that we have in our lives where we are dedicating to career, and why there is so much of importance on planning and being engaged in it and having a purpose around it. So guys, those who are listening to it, I mean, for me, it was a revelation right now. For me, I never thought of it in such a way, and I think what Ashutosh just talked about, I had an aha moment, and I'm sure all of you love that too. And you know what? When I was, you were talking about it, and I was thinking about this from my own coaching programs. Um, and I talk about about mindfulness a lot in my sessions, considering I have a background in that as well. Um, in my coaching programs, I've also observed that many a times there are some health conditions people are going through, and they feel a lot of stress at times. But when I observe some people who shifted their thoughts around what they were doing, or shifted their the what that they were doing, and why they were doing, I have seen that from a health aspect also they have got positive impact.
Very true.
And I was discussing in one of these other sessions where we were talking about that, how when we have that sense of purpose and fulfillment, it makes us so happy, that it creates those hormones which keep us even healthier as well.
Very true. Very true. In fact, 54%, as per Harvard research, people, senior executives, feel extremely lonely and stressed in their jobs.
Hmm.
And they feel that they're often accountable for problems they never generated. So, to your point, mental well-being and health, is supremely important, and that truly happens when your juices, your creative juices, are involved in what you do. So, very well said, Karuna. Absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, and I think it's all about the energy that we're putting into it, the kind of the whys, why we are doing it. If we are very, very clear about it and we are excited about it, I think that creates a huge amount of difference. So thank you, Ashutosh, for bringing that point up. It adds a lot of value, I'm sure, at least to me and also to people who are viewing it. So there are a lot of people writing in messages saying that they're loving the conversation. Taruna says, great discussion, very um, uh, Badruddin, and he's congratulating us for that. Arjun also believes that there is an insight. This is an insightful session. Gandharv has a statement he's mentioned about that he's reading Clifton Strengths Finder right now. So I think that's an amazing stuff that you're reading, Gandharv, and I'm sure it is going to add a lot of value to you for that. So tell us a little more about this concept that you focus on right now, Ashutosh, where you support a lot of senior level executives and mentor them to thrive in their careers. um, because people who spend some time being an expert at what they have been doing, let's say they've spent a few years doing what they have been doing, there is a certain of level of expertise and comfort that has been created with that work they've been doing. After a while, even though, and this is personal experience also, even though there is monotony that comes into picture, I need to, I would love to shift, let's say, to something else that I want to do, but my comfort zone is already made, and it is not easy to shift from there to doing something new. And I believe career transition is pretty difficult because I'm known as a certain person by now, as an expert. My reputation and identity is attached to it, and it becomes really difficult to break that and say that, okay, I want to try something else, even though I'm not enjoying what I'm doing right now. I think there is a lot of it at stake at a certain point after you've done that for a while. So, what is your advice to professionals or people who've been on a break, or even senior executives and CXOs who are looking and thinking about, okay, what next for me? And that's a question as HR people, you and I have also come across many a times when people reach out to us for career advice.
Karuna, there is a chapter in a book I recently wrote called Crossing the Bridge of Fear. I think if I remember right, it's chapter 9.
Mhm.
And it's exactly the point that the fact that if someone feels what next, literally, and I almost feel it's a hashtag what next, literally, in that sense that, if you feel what next, that's a starting point. You
Mhm.
obviously, there's something telling the person that there's an inner calling which is driving you towards a direction which is beyond what you're doing today. Now,
Hmm.
the two ways one can deal with that. One can deal with it for the economy to push you out of what you do, which is not a very helpful state to be in. Or one can be proactive and smart about it and start building the bridge to cross at the right time. But either ways, it's extremely important in today's world. There's something which is known as the World Uncertainty Index, WUI,
Mhm.
which is really the ECG of the world economic, and the events, how many events influence and affect us across the world every year.
Hmm.
And that index, if you go and check, everyone checks out on Google, that's been going out at a certain pace where people have realized that the environment has started brutally affecting careers, jobs, what we do every day, our passion. And to your specific point, what it means is that if you know that there's something calling you to change, it's not about changing the job necessarily. It's not about jumping out from what you do. It's not about breaking your, bank and doing something else. But it's really around making sure that how are you able to connect deeper with your inner core. And it's not about just your strength, your natural strength, but also about this sense of flow, which you call the state of flow. When you do something so well and you're so passionate about it, you forget time. Like when I started writing, I discovered I forget time. It can be, I can start at 10 p.m. and be 4 a.m. The pain,
Yeah.
hunger, everything is gone. So the important thing there is that what is that moment of truth for you? That's something. And if you're able to connect your two P's, which I call purpose, which is a sense of purpose, which can be a cause that can outlive you. That's another way to look at it. That which you've been known for, your legacy. If you can drive your purpose and connect it with your passion, and then the purpose and passion end up driving your paycheck. So a lot of people I advise or speak to, and those who have advised me as well on the reverse, have been successful, have said whenever they have followed their paycheck as a key driver, it has betrayed them. And whenever they followed their first two P's, this is a three P theory which I have. When you look at the first two P's, passion and purpose, it has helped them build better rewards, better journeys, better paychecks in the future. But if you're focused only on paycheck, which most of us tend to end up doing, it
Mm.
actually is a very short-lived journey. And therefore, it's important to start with the trigger of what next. Ask yourself that question, connect to your two P's, and find what will make sense out there in the market, which can help you to go in a very different state of mind. And one can go on and building that area. Like there are people who are the sports people who actually are executives, but on the right side, they end up doing another thing is that they're very passionate about doing some kind of music or sports and it's not being flippant about it. They've gone and they've made huge networks out of it, which has helped them build businesses. So it is that's what I'm trying to say, that we end up trying to silo our personal life from our business life. And the beauty of it is both are deeply connected, because at the end of the day, when we go back to sleep at home towards the end of the day, we can't just hang our coat outside the tree and say we've forgotten everything. You got to bring it together. And then only do you feel more fulfilled.
Wow, such an insightful point, and I absolutely loved it, and it's going to add so much of value to people who are listening to it, and those who are fearing to shift. I think just go out and take that courage and just do it and see and experiment that how it's connecting to your purpose. And if I talk about my coaching programs that I do, or individual coachings or group coachings, there are some sessions that we do related to mindfulness, which help us become more aware about our own selves. And I see that getting very well integrated when it comes to knowing about your own self and what kind of career does somebody want to pick up. Because if I know myself better through these concepts and tips of self awareness, it can really, really add value. And I also feel that, as we were talking about it, Ashutosh, that a lot of us are always on that hamster wheel all the time, where we keep going. I do also believe, and please do add your expert points also. I do also believe that it is so important to take a break from what we've been doing and go in a self reflection mode. um, Ask powerful questions to yourself, and then see where the why is taking you. So what do you have to say on that?
I was smiling because, Karuna, that, I've had so many skeptics when I brought up my theory framework, and then I've had so many wonderful advocates of it as well. So there's a divided house when people say, how can I not do anything and be in a state of thinking when the life is going around me? But that's the whole point. That's what differentiates between people. So, during my interviews with about 300 different people at different points of time over the years, I often used to ask this question to people that, how are you so successful? Do you really, has it been just stroke of luck? Has it been just sheer hard work? Has it been absolute, focus on what you knew, what you will be good at? And while all those three things were important, the three other things which everyone said, which was very, very common. Number one was retreat time. All successful people, right from presidents of the world to businessmen to executives to middle level executives, and today athletes who are very successful, professionals who are very successful, are being coached on this, that there is a me time. And in a quarter, my simple way to kind of punch it back into the industry is to say, in 3 months, if you have 10 hours to spend with someone, who is that? And usually people end up saying in my session that my family, my mom, my brother, my sister. And I think that's very important to do that with a friend. But those 10 exclusive hours is with you. And when you do that 10 hour with yourself, to me, the simple example is when you get on a plane in the days we used to travel, and hopefully again very soon, what is the first thing the air hostess or steward tells you? He or she tells you, wear your oxygen mask and when you get in trouble, and then help your fellow passengers. So
Hmm.
if we are not able to wear our own oxygen mask, if we don't get our own cells taken care of, how can we help our families?
So
And
true.
that's what goes wrong. We end up going after, rattling on our career track from the time we started from college. We jump onto one bus, then we jump onto another bus, then jump onto a third train or a plane, and we just keep rattling on our career track, not pausing for a moment and thinking, where am I going? What will happen when I'm in my 10th year of my career, 20th year of my career? And it's not again about be architecting your career planning. You can't do that. But
Hmm.
at least in the moment, be mindful. And therefore, I think, Karuna, what you said is beautiful because if someone can use a coaching like yours for a mindfulness coaching, a sense of a sounding board, being able to have a conversation and say, this is where, and declutter the thoughts because it's not easy. We let's be honest to ourselves. There's so much going around us, every single human, that it is unfair to ask everyone to say that, okay, pause, reflect, and you'll be on like a boxer in the ring. You need to declutter your thoughts, and you need a coach. You need someone to be next to you to help you do that. So I completely agree with you on that. What you said.
So let me ask you a question, Ashutosh, now. How many coaches have you had in your life?
Your voice broke. How many? What? Sorry. I mean, how many coaches did
How
you
many
say?
coaches? Yes, how many coaches have you had in your life?
I have always believed in what Keith Ferrazzi said in his book, Never Eat Alone, is um, always have a network of people around you
Hmm.
who can be your mentor, friends, and coaches.
Hmm.
And even and I also go back to spiritualism on this. Even in one of our spiritual scriptures, it says, "People who are your worst critiques are your best friends."
Hmm.
People. So in both senses, it sometimes is helpful to have that. And I have made it a cardinal rule of my career and my life that, and not that it happened to me naturally. Sometime someone told me to do that because and I did tried it and it worked for me every time after that. Was
Hmm.
that if I can have if I can surround myself with at least 4 to 5 people at a time, maybe 10 people sometimes, who I can reach out to selflessly, and they'll pick up my phone selflessly and have a great conversation and say, you know what, this is how I feel today. I remember this moment of time in my career when, like I was saying earlier, where I was feeling quite lost because I had all the money, I had made the money, I had the house, cars, everything. The material pleasures were there, but I was saying something is not right. And in that moment, as example, I picked up the phone with 2 or 3 of my coaches, my mentors who had been there with me on my journey for long, and you develop that relationship, right? It's
Mm.
like your career is management thing. So when you develop, you need to have a wealth management guru around you. You can't be your own wealth management guru.
Yeah.
So if you're able to build that connection, the trusted connection with a coach, with a mentor, someone who can help you look in the mirror and say, you are going wrong here, or you are not going wrong here, but maybe you need to do about something around this. Those moments of truth help you make that 1 degree change in the course. And that 1 degree deviation in the course helps you get on the right road versus getting derailed from your career.
Yeah. So there is so much of importance that that coach or that support guide, whosoever you're reaching out to, can add value to. As you rightly mentioned, even that 1 degree of shift could just take you somewhere else. And when you have a coach or a guide there in your life, there is always more support, more perspectives, because sometimes we have our own blind spots which we are not able to find out unless there is somebody telling us about it.
Yes. Yes,
So when,
absolutely. And even I feel, Karuna, sorry to interrupt you, even at the organization level,
yes.
companies need to take this very seriously. See, every company is focused on getting value delivered of their people and making sure that KPIs and goals are around work and business. And then some of the good companies also have personal goals integrated with it. But I think it's very important for organizations to have the right uh, coaching and sounding board, people around their people who can at times be the sounding board and a call away, where someone can disconnect from the day-to-day run of the career and then connect back after engaging with someone who can show the right way. So even as an organization, uh, it's very important to have that overall sense of not only mental well-being but also a sense of what I call. Now, my favorite example is the Huskies from the Olympics. There's a book being published on that way in the 1930s, where this Washington team when an it's not usually I think the 1930 or 36 Olympic is usually spoken about in Berlin more for Casey Owens, but where no one talks about the Huskies, where they went as a team and they won as underdogs the entire the rowing competition, the regatta. And the thing which was different, they were like underdogs. They were they were college students almost. And what the big shift for them was this exact thing, that they had one guy in there who was a constant sounding board. Whenever they felt, I can't do this, I want to quit, I'm going wrong, I don't have the strength, I'm not well, I don't have the energy, I don't know which if this is we're really going to win. This person used to like say, and it's not motivating. This person used to like hear them and point out that logically you can do it, and that sense of belief and this connection to win and the sense of purpose, all put together, made them win this historic moment in the world. People can check it on YouTube. There's a lot written on this, but the whole idea is that it has to come together, and that sense of purpose and the sense of connection with the coach is extremely important as a winning combination.
Yeah, indeed. And we coming from the corporate background, you've got so many years of experience, and I've also been for 1.5 decades in the corporate. Um, every time when I observe where the teams have been successful, I find that example pretty much there, that either the leader has taken up a role of a coach, or there is any some senior mentor there in that team, which has added so much of value that people had a sounding board to actually make sure that there was relevant collaboration happening in the group for success. Even smaller teams, larger teams, you would find that is there. Indeed, from an organizational point of view, I do see that organizations now are focusing on building capabilities for leaders, because it also is a skill. And once people start finding so much of value in it, and which is coming up in the coming times, I'm sure there will be a lot of value that a coach can add to a person's life, and a person for their career would be able to also, be much more serious about having a coach to help them move through in their lives. So that brings me to a question that I have for you. Why are you known as a career Sherpa? Tell us more about the story behind it.
That's a very good question. I'll give a very try to give a very short answer around that because it's a long story though. Um, See, a lot of people who know me in my network and my HR industry till 2017, actually 19, knew me as they used to call me Ace. I don't know why that name stuck on to me. So, even and I went on to say, okay, he Ace. That's what my friends used to call me. Uh, in when I went into this moment of reflection in my cave, and I came up with this book breakthrough, and it went on to touch lives. The In the book, I've called myself as a Sherpa. I don't want to, I've clearly called out, I'm not a guru. I don't pretend to be one. I'm not a science or a HR expert of the world. I cannot be. There are people who are far more qualified than I am. But what I can be is a Sherpa who can help people point the way and say, this is the path to the up the mountain trail to the Everest, the summit, where you will be successful. And I can point them, oh, watch that crevice there, watch that valley there, watch the step there, and do these things. Wear your oxygen kit at the right time. What is your oxygen kit? Your oxygen kit is moment reflection. Oxygen kit is developing your connection to who you really are and being able to leverage that commercially for yourself and all
Mm,
of that. And that analogy has stuck on. So I through the book have signed off as Sherpa, that I'm your Sherpa, my dear reader, and reach out to me. I'm not here trying to be a guru. I'm trying to just generate and trigger your thoughts to get there. And as people started doing it, I'm very proud to say, and very, very proud to say, and very happy to say that a lot of hundreds of readers across the world who have read the book and who have, and probably thousands who have developed that passion have called back and written to me saying, we definitely want to engage you as our Sherpa because you have not become the mountaineer here. You have stood behind us and shown us the way, and we feel good about it. We always felt an authentic conversation through the book as if we're talking to our Sherpa while we're climbing the peak. So that's
wow.
answer why the Sherpa name is stuck on my Instagram handle. Now also made it into used to be actually Ashu Ace. Now made it Sherpa.Ashutosh Sinha. So just to respect that.
I love the analogy, and I think the role that you're playing. More power to you in this, Ashutosh. So, who have you dedicated this book to?
The book dedication is to my father, actually. I've written a small prose for him in the beginning, and the reason is because he told me something, gave me a poster when I was very young as a kid, which said, "Don't quit," and that stuck with me for long years. And that one of the lines in the poster, which I repeat to everyone, is, "Rest if you must, but don't quit. When the night fell down, it's then when you realized how close you were to the golden crown." And people don't realize it how close they are to success, and they give up before that. So I just love that poetry, and I have dedicated my uh, you know inspiration to him.
So, he's been your Sherpa.
He's been my Sherpa, absolutely.
Amazing. That's so lovely. So I remember, Ashutosh, when we were talking about the book between you and I, you brought up a concept of Bermuda Triangle, and I was
Mhm.
very, very curious about it. That what is it all about? Why share that with our audience also? That what is it that you talk about when you say Bermuda Triangle, and tell us more. That tell the audience about that also.
See, we all have these planes in our cells. So I'll give you another different example, which I'll quote Jack Canfield on this very quickly, the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. There was a session which I was listening to him, and he said something very interesting. I don't know, it was his, but he quoted it very nicely. He said, let's imagine you're sitting in a plane, and the 6-year boy walks up and says, I'm your pilot, and I'm going to take the plane for you from here to destination. And what will be your reaction? Will you say, "Oh, great, I'll put my life in your hands," or sometimes you feel that, "Oops, am I putting myself at risk?" And that 6-year-old boy, if you reflect back, sometimes is you. So you're sometimes we let our if we do a regression and think about it, we in our minds, deep back, have something inside us which controls and starts managing our career and our reactions to our career. It's very deep. Now, if I take that slightly one level up, in our planes, we have many passengers. We have
Mm,
family, we have our friends, sometimes our near and dear ones. And as a pilot of the plane, we put people at risk if we are that 6-year-old
mm,
who doesn't know how to fly the plane but is telling ourselves to get on and go in a certain direction. Now, what happens is a lot of people in the mid career and sometimes early in the career, and now these days, career stress is coming down every day. It used to be in late 50s, mid 50s, used to be 40s. Now it's actually come down to mid 30s, where
mm,
people are feeling jaded with what they're doing every day. And the reason is very simple. The plane actually flies into this thunderstorm, their carrier plane, and they are not able to avoid it. There are early warning signs. There are raindrops coming on the screen. They understand that, okay, I'm telling something's going on and something's not right. But you keep adapting to the environment and you don't challenge yourself to rethink and you keep going at it. And then the plane enters what I call the Bermuda Triangle, where it goes out of your control.
yeah,
And you have risked the lives of everyone on your plane as well at the same time. So it's very important to be proactive much before. And when the first drop of rain falls on your windscreen, as a pilot of the plane, stop and reflect, take help from someone who can help you, and redesign, reinvent where you're heading to. So that's where the Bermuda Triangle comes in.
yeah, and maybe connect to the ground to get the
Connect to the
navigation
trout.
space.
Yes,
Yeah,
connect to the ground, connect to the tower, which is the your life coach, your partner, your
yes.
mentor, and make sure you sound it off. Absolutely.
Amazing. That's so amazing. So, what is your favorite book?
I have many good books which I love. One which has stuck with me forever is a book called Jonathan Livingstone Seagull by Richard Bach.
Mm-hmm.
It talks about this. It's a very thin book, as thin as my book, just about 130 pages or so. But it's very profound. It's beautiful. It's got a lot of pictures in it. It's about how this seagull called Jonathan Livingstone is always told by his parents and by society and people around him that you can't fly. You are a seagull. You can only fly this much. You are not supposed to fly like an eagle. You can't go from here to there.
Mm,
And he, in that book, challenges that. And Richard Bach is a great philosopher, so he challenges that. And Jonathan Livingstone, kind of in the book, comes out of it and says, I will not be who everyone wants me to be. I
mm,
will be who I want to be. And in
mm,
fact, that's the crux of my career discussion always with people as well, and even my own company and my teams as well. My whole thing is it's about who you want to be. Connect with who you want to be. It's
mm.
not what everyone wants you to be. And that resonates a lot with me throughout. It struck with me throughout.
Yeah,
So that's my favorite book.
yeah. Very interesting. And I remember hearing this quote from somebody where it says that if you're a fish and if you try to learn to climb a tree, all your life you would think that you're stupid. So rather than focusing on knowing how to climb a tree, how about leveraging your strength of swimming through and living a life of happiness and joy and ease as well. So,
Yes, yes.
so interesting. And I think a lot of these concepts of knowing my own self, uh, who am I, and connecting to the purpose and the why, a coach could be of great help in that as well.
Absolutely.
I, I have
Absolutely.
a question that has come up from the audience. It's a long one, so I'll read it out.
Hmm.
You may have quit a well settled job to start something on your own, which probably might have led you to something below your expectations. You may be naive and unrealistic and took an unexpected turn, knowing that there is no coming back, and ultimately reached no close to your destination. What was your next course of action? Anyone of you can answer this. Uh,
Gandharv, that's a great question. And first of all, let me acknowledge and tell you, if you're hearing me or you're listening to this, that you're not alone on this. There are actually more people on your side who have exactly faced the same scenario and come out of it as winners than you. Now, that was not just a consolation response. No, I was telling that to let you know that it is possible that you can go wrong. And, sometimes we always have a certain track to go on, A to B in a destination, and we end up deviating towards the left. And it is because, one may think that this is the right thing to do. And there's nothing wrong because you took a decision at that point of time, thinking that these are my data points and this is where this should work and I should go and do it. And then one gets really stuck and you're not able to come out of it, right? So I don't know if you're a rally driver, but what happens when a car gets stuck in mud, right? When the wheels start spinning, you try to bring some wooden planks around it. You try to get some people around you to help push the car, put a wooden plank between the tire and the mud to get the tire get a firm surface to come out of the rut. And that's exactly the point. That analogy which I'm trying to give is that the way people who have been exactly the same spot as you, and I don't know exactly if this is your own personal question or for someone else, and I respect that privacy here, but at the same time, people who have been through this, I can tell you, granted, and for sure, because I've spoken to many of them, is that the best course of action right now is to find your mastermind network, find your 5 to 6 people who can help you think through the situation. And who are these people? How do you identify these people, right? Because it's not just a random set of people. It's not about every friend around on the street. It's about people who, one, have been in a similar situation. So at least in that five, let's say there are five, let's give it a structured response to this. Sort of 5 people, get 2 people who have been through the same thing. And there are lots of people out there who have been through the same thing and come out of it. Find 2 people who are in the field where you want to do your next thing. So that comes from the reflection which Karuna was talking about, that you need to also be clear that what do I want to do from here? Don't think commercially only because that blinds us completely.
yeah.
Step back and think differently and say, what is that I'm really good at and what people have said I'm good at? And there's a certain way to do it and certain method to do it, and you can take help on it. So, find a coach who can help you be a sounding board if possible, if you want to do it, or sit down with yourself and be your own coach and reflect, but do that. And idea is that say that, okay, what is that I really connect with? What is the next thing? And what's the next gig which truly excites me? Truly excites me, not because everyone is saying that'll make you money. So there's two different things here.
Yes.
And the third thing is the fifth guy there should be someone who is your quarterback, who will be your mirror, who can tell you very honestly as a critique that you're going wrong on something. I would
Mm.
request you to look at these 5 people as part of your network. If you don't have them today, the world is actually not as closed as it seems sometimes. When you
Yeah.
reach out on LinkedIn to people who are in your area and your field, they actually, not everyone, but many people have tried it. A lot of people have tried it early age, come out and are ready to help you. People can't give you jobs, people can't give you careers, but advice, good advice is forthcoming. And then definitely see if you can get a coach, someone who can assist you through thinking at least. And that thinking is always best with 2 minds versus 1 mind, I would say. So I hope that helps. That's my response to you.
Amazing, amazing. I'm sure Gandhar will find a lot of value in what Ashutosh mentioned. Just some personal inputs I would like to give here. While I left my job in 2015, I made a planned decision to get into entrepreneurship in 2016. End of 2015, I left my job at Eaton. 1 year I completely failed. And I say that failed word, but honestly, it was more like a learning time for me where I learned so many things about entrepreneurship. I always was passionate to get into entrepreneurship and I wanted to explore because it gave me, it was a kick for me, in various ways. And it turned out that it was not a practical decision for me to jump into entrepreneurship at that time for various reasons um, and I also lacked a few skills which I reflected on later in 17 and 2018 for 2 years, and I realized that there were a lot of mistakes I'd made. But while I gave myself that practical time of 1 year and I was going through that entrepreneurship, I realized that um, towards the end of the year, I knew that I had made a mistake. I'd lost my savings. I had a lot of things that were going on in the personal life, and so much of stuff that I knew that it was getting unmanageable for me. So I was kind of in a, I don't know, what kind of a situation you're talking about right now here, but I personally experienced to some degree experience like that, and I felt that um, at that moment I had a few people who supported me, and they were sounding boards for me, and I kind of brought up the situation and they took me through the step in terms of understanding that, okay, what is my goal, why do I want to do, and further on to it. And that is what made me realize that, okay, it was not the time for me to jump into business, and as well as things that I was doing, and I went back to a job for 2 years. And I had this feeling that, okay, I'm stuck. I also had this feeling at some point where I was feeling uh, I failed and I don't want to feel like a failure. And I had to overcome all of that, and the coaches who I was associated with them, they helped me a lot. I realized that it was not about failing, actually. It is about that experience that I had. And when I jumped into entrepreneurship late, in 2018, end of 18 again, I knew that I knew more about entrepreneurship than anybody else who was just jumping into it. I That experience that I went through was really has really helped me now in what I'm doing right now. So consider this, that please do not be overcritical about the entire situation if you're personally experiencing it. That's what I would want you to kind of understand. um, these are experiences, so look at them as experiences and consider that why are you wanting to do next steps now, and just move. So you're not never late in doing that if it is for your personal situation, if you are asking that question. So that's something I wanted to add from my side, and I'm sure you loved what Ashutosh had to say as well. So that brings me to a question to you after
Actually,
this.
just one thing to add to that, Karuna. I think you ended it beautifully. My favorite interview question, you give Oscars to questions in interviews. I was interviewed in a lot of interviews at different points of time as an executive. And one of my favorite question, all-time favorite Oscar question by a great global leader, who's on the board of many companies today, was, he said, he asked two questions. Question one was, and that was my interview, by the way. He said, beyond my domain interview, he said, how much time do you spend keeping your feet on the table? And I said, I was not very connected to US that time. I was still very young, mostly baked in India. And I said, what does that term mean? Like, I don't put my feet on the table. And he said, think about it. And I said, all right, what he's saying is, how much time do I put my head back and think about my
Mm,
work and my situation every single day? Number one. Number two, he said, um, what has been your best teacher? And that's something which I put also ahead. My failures are my best mentors. I always keep them as in my top right quadrant,
Mm.
and they have always the beacon of light. So what you said was experiences of failure are very, very important to build phenomenal people. The biggest and the best people have failed many times, so many times. Like Jack Ma has failed like probably 90 times if you read up his book or his thoughts.
Walt
So
Disney.
Walt Disney has failed so many times, right? Mr. Nair, who set up, late Mr. Nair, who set up the Lila Kemsky. So there are a bunch of people out there who have failed and failed and failed, and then they've succeeded. So idea is to have the grit, the resilience, the thinking, and don't sit there like Karuna said. Uh, get into action and find those people around you and get professional advice. That's very, very important. Very, very important. Get professional coaching advice if you can.
Lovely. I love that thought, Ashutosh. Thank you so much for adding that value. And I'm sure, Gandhav, it's making you excited and inspired to move ahead now. So, Ashutosh, that brings me to another question for you. How can we find breakthrough?
Yeah, so I will give a kind of a bad answer to it and then a good answer. The bad answer is you can find it on Amazon.com.
Yeah, guys,
It's
that's the name
available.
of the book. If those of started watching it later, that's the name of his book, Breakthrough. Yes, go
So you
ahead.
can definitely find Breakthrough on. It's become a global bestseller thanks to some beautiful readers, and you can find it on Amazon.com. But at the same time, or any Amazon where you are based. But Breakthrough is really about your breakthrough with yourself and your
Mm,
career. Now, career journeys are journeys which have are A to B, and if you look at something which I talk about is the frog trap. The frog trap is there's a very interesting story around, and I've not done this. So if there are any animal lovers, rest assured I've not done any cruelty here, but I've read about it in different places. Is that frog, when you put them in a lukewarm water in a pan, right? They kind of enjoy the temperature, and then you turn up the heat, they enjoy it more. You
mm,
turn up the heat a little more, they adapt to it. You turn up the heat even more, they readapt to that. And it
mm,
reaches a point when it's a boiling point and it's too late to jump out of the pan.
mm,
I developed this tool called the career thermometer, or which is on my website, ashutoshsinha.com. It's free it's free for anyone who wants to try it out. And if the career thermometer is really a situational tool, it's not a psychometric tool, it's a situational tool based on my relationship conversations with many other successful people,
mm,
which is to give you a sense of your current situation, which means we as humans always tend to say it's okay. You always tend to say it's okay, and then you readapt to it, and you say it's okay, and then you readapt to it, and say okay. Going back way back in my journey, I wanted to become a NASA space scientist. That was my first dream. And I started off in a direction. Not many people know this, but I'm probably telling this on your show, Karuna, probably for the first time on a public forum. Is that I went on to I got admission in Oxford and to become a material science, and in Sheffield to material science engineer. I was
mm,
very passionate about material science, and for some personal reasons, like you say, when you plan your career from A to B, there's a cart track where it deviates sometimes. And what happened was, sometime right in the beginning of my life, in my career, when I was 24 years old, 25 years old, and I related that, I lost two precious mentors in my life, my grandfather and my father, in two quick succession of years.
oh,
And that kind of broke me. And I kind of settled down back at home, started thinking that what is my journey? And I went and did my MBA because everyone does the MBA. And
mm,
it wasn't like very planned. And I did an MBA in HR because I used to like HR. And that's how it started developing. But I I got this nice job in a polymer research kind of a unit where I used to go and do, it's a well-paying job. I was executive, but I kept asking myself all the time that, am I adapting to everything around me? My dream
mm,
was something else. My
mm,
dream was to go ahead and I quoted Jack Ma earlier, and there are many other people, I mean, probably have said similar things. is that having a dream helps you rescue you from weak thoughts.
Mm.
So if you have a dream which is obsessive, which you know that you want to get something to do,
Yeah.
you can reset the meter. Instead of NASA space engineer, I said, okay, I'm going to become a world leader in HR in some way and help people around me. And I got onto that journey. But it rescues from those weak moments and weak thoughts where you are not able to do well. And it says, I want to crack this and come out of it because I am still connected to the dreams. That's this lighthouse which keeps drawing your ship in the direction. And breakthrough is about that. Breakthrough is about people who have met this roadblock, have met the Bermuda Triangle. How can they transition the career and become happy in their lives, in the career? There are many books out there which talk about many things out there which talk about be happy, be joyful at work, be happy at work. I think it's great. I respect those books and those thoughts as well. But you can't just be happy. That's fuzzy. That's esoteric. You need to be logical about it. Who has the
Mm.
time to only be practicing and say, I'm going to be happy? It's
Yeah.
also about, it doesn't manifest like that. The way it manifests is you need a structured approach. And what I've invented, I like to call it, is the QAPA framework, Kappa framework, which helps
Wow.
people in a very structured four-step approach, QAPA, to change their career from a roadblock, from a Bermuda Triangle, lift the planes up the skies, and go in the direction where it can be truly meaningful and exciting for them. And most importantly, where they can be happy and fulfilled. Because, and I'll repeat what I said if some people join late for the show, if you're happy and fulfilled and enjoy what you do,
Yes.
you'll do it better. When you do it better, you become more successful. And you become successful, you do even better. And of course, I don't want to talk about the commercial returns to it. You will make more money anyway.
Yes, so true. And it's so amazing. Guys, go and grab a copy of his book called Breakthrough Framework for an Inspired Career. And also visit his website, ashutoshsinha.com, and take up your career thermometer test and find out more about your own self. You can also connect with us as I do coaching programs. If you're needing support on that related to your career, or even if you need mentoring from Ashutosh, feel free to connect with us. We are all available on social media to help you out with this concept of taking you and helping you thrive in your careers. So tell us, Ashutosh, with are there any expert points or tips that you would want to talk to us as a conclusion to this session?
It's been a great conversation, Karuna. And first of all, I do want to tell everyone that more I have come to know about what you do, I've been very, very impressed. Not many people are so selflessly and as a profession taken up, role of being a coach and whether it's a mindfulness coach or a career coach for people. So, great work. Keep it up. And
Thank you so
I'm just astounded with what you're doing. It's great work. I hope more and more people can make use of that. Um, to your question, to wrap up the session, I think, like I said, I'll just give my favorite one or two things which I always like to tell people. And I believe quotes always help to understand better. Number one, career is like wealth management.
much.
Treat it like wealth management. Make quick and frequent investments in your career because that's going to make a lot of talent and skill wealth for you, which is going to stand by you in the long run. Number two, always, always, always find that 10 hour for yourself in 3 months where you can talk to yourself or talk to someone who can help you talk to yourself if you have background noise in your mind and you can't talk to yourself. And number three, please ensure that you find a cause that outlives you. Because one day our careers run out. We things move very fast. It's faster than we think.
Yeah.
And in the Q, which I said is the four quadrants of life, Q is the economics of career, A is your 10 to 20 years of experience, and then your 20 to 30, and so on and so forth. and it runs out very, very quickly, faster than you realize. And it's important to take cognizance and proactively prepare for the next quadrant before you hit that. So those are my quick tips. Hope that helps for people to understand and hear it.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. And thank you so much for being here, Ashutosh. Such a lovely conversation, and it just went on. And I just feel that there is so much of value you can add to all of us. Guys, do feel free to reach out. I'm going to be posting his Ashutosh's social media links as well for you to look up for him and reach out to him. If you have any questions related to, for me and or for Ashutosh, we both of us happy to help you on that. So live happily, enjoy the time that you are spending when it comes to being in COVID times. I know all of you hoping that you're staying safe. Enjoy the time the way it is given to you right now, and try to build up on your careers in these times that we are going through. I'm sure there are great times ahead for us. Thank you. Thank you so much. Lovely having all
Thank
of
you.
you here. Take care. Bye bye for now. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.